Before anything else, let me say this clearly. This is a timeless reading, so whenever you are seeing or hearing this message, that is exactly when it was meant to reach you. Now pause for a moment, because what I'm about to say may hit closer to your heart than you expect. There is someone who wanted you far more than they ever allowed themselves to show. They hid it behind distance, silence, mixed signals, or control. What you saw was not the full truth. What they felt ran much deeper, stronger, and more intense than you realized. Welcome to Sophia, where hidden emotions finally come to the surface. If you clicked on this reading, it's not by accident. Something inside you already sensed that there was more going on behind the scenes. Late night thoughts, unspoken feelings, moments they replayed in their mind again and again. All of that energy is still very much alive. And before we go any further, remember to only take what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. The energy coming through today feels heavy with desire, confusion, and emotional tension. This is about someone who wanted you badly but struggled with fear, inner conflict, or emotional blocks. They may have acted distant or unsure, but inside, their feelings were loud and restless. There is a sense here of wanting to reach out, wanting to say something, and yet stopping themselves every single time. 3 cards have come forward to tell this story: the Knight of Cups, the Devil, and the Two of Swords. These cards together point to deep emotions, strong attachment, and a painful inner struggle between the heart and the mind. They reveal why this person held back, why they never fully showed you how much you truly meant to them, and what that silence was really hiding. If you're feeling a pull in your chest or a sudden sense of recognition, that's not random. Stay with me, because as we go deeper, the truth behind their hidden feelings is about to unfold in a way you may not be expecting. When these 3 cards come together, the Knight of Cups, the Devil, and the Two of Swords, they tell a powerful and emotional story about hidden desire, inner conflict, and silence that was never empty. Together, they confirm one clear truth. This person wanted you far more than they ever allowed you to see. And the reason you didn't feel it openly was not because it wasn't there, but because it overwhelmed them. The Knight of Cups shows where it all began, with genuine emotion. This was not surface-level interest or fleeting attraction. This person felt something romantic, soft, and sincere toward you. You touched their heart in a way that felt meaningful. They imagined what it would be like to be close to you emotionally, to connect on a deeper level, to share something real. In their inner world, you were idealized. You represented love, possibility, and emotional fulfillment. But the Knight of Cups also shows someone who feels deeply yet hesitates to act. Their emotions were strong, but their courage to express them was fragile. As those feelings grew, the Devil stepped in. What started as romance turned into intense attachment. Their desire for you deepened into something consuming. You became hard to ignore, hard to forget, and impossible to replace. They felt drawn to you in a way that felt risky and uncontrollable. This wasn't just emotional, it was magnetic. Your energy pulled at them, stirred them, awakened parts of them they had kept buried, and that intensity frightened them. Wanting you this much made them feel exposed, dependent, and vulnerable. The Devil explains why they tried to hide it. They didn't trust themselves with how strongly they felt. They may have worried that if they let themselves want you fully, they would lose control or make choices they weren't ready to face. So instead of moving closer, they tightened their grip on themselves. They restrained their words, their actions, and their truth. But suppression only made the desires stronger inside. The bond didn't weaken, it intensified in silence. Then comes the Two of Swords, showing the moment everything froze. This card reveals the inner battle that stopped them from taking action. Their heart pulled them toward you, while their mind warned them to stay guarded. They stood emotionally stuck, unable to choose between vulnerability and self-protection. So they chose neither. They chose silence. They chose distance. They chose to block out their own feelings just enough to function, but never enough to truly let go. The Two of Swords shows that their lack of action was not accidental. It was a painful choice made to avoid emotional risk. They didn't want to lose you, but they were also terrified of what opening up might cost them. Rejection, exposure, change, all of it felt too heavy. So they convinced themselves that staying still was safer than stepping forward. But staying still came with its own pain. Together, these cards show a heart that wanted to love, a desire that became overwhelming, and a mind that shut everything down to avoid facing the truth. This person felt deeply, wanted intensely, and yet showed very little. Not because you didn't matter, but because you mattered too much. Their silence was not emptiness. It was full of thoughts they never shared, words they swallowed, and emotions they didn't know how to carry openly. They may have appeared calm, detached, or even distant, but inside they were anything but. You occupied their emotional space more than they ever admitted. This combination also speaks to timing and readiness. They weren't emotionally prepared to handle what you stirred in them. You came into their life and disrupted their inner balance. You challenged their comfort zones. You asked, without saying a word, for honesty, courage, and emotional presence, things they struggled to give at that time. What's important for you to understand is this. Their inability to show you how much they wanted you had nothing to do with your worth. It was about their fear, their inner chains, and their indecision. You didn't imagine the connection. You didn't misread the energy. The cards confirm that what you felt was real. The Knight of Cups says the love was genuine. The Devil says the desire was intense and consuming. The Two of Swords says fear kept it hidden. Together, they tell a story of someone who wanted you deeply, fought themselves over it, and chose silence over vulnerability. Not because they didn't care, but because caring felt too powerful to face. When the Two of Swords appears in this reading, it reveals the moment where everything became stuck. This card speaks of emotional paralysis, inner conflict, and the painful choice to stay silent even when the heart wants to speak. In the context of they want you more than they ever showed you, the Two of Swords explains why nothing moved forward. Even though the feelings were very real and very strong, this person stood at a crossroads within themselves. On one side was their desire for you, their emotions, and the pull they felt whenever they thought of you. On the other side was fear, logic, and the need to protect themselves. The Two of Swords shows someone trying to keep balance by blocking out their own feelings. They chose not to look directly at what their heart was asking for, because facing it would have required a decision they didn't feel ready to make. Their silence was a decision, but not a careless one. It was a choice made out of self-protection. They may have believed that if they acknowledged how much they wanted you, everything would change, and change felt terrifying. So instead, they closed their heart just enough to keep things under control. They didn't stop feeling. They stopped expressing. This card also suggests emotional denial. They told themselves they were fine without you. They convinced themselves that distance was the safer option. But the Two of Swords shows that this denial came at a cost. Suppressing emotions created inner tension. Every time they thought of reaching out, their mind argued with their heart. Every time they wanted to say something meaningful, doubt stepped in and silenced them. The Two of Swords often appears when someone is afraid of making the wrong choice. This person worried about consequences. What if they said something and were rejected? What if they opened up and lost control? What if admitting their feelings made them vulnerable in ways they weren't ready for? Rather than risk pain, they chose emotional stillness. But stillness doesn't mean absence of feeling. It means holding everything inside. This card also shows emotional distance created on purpose. They may have acted calm, detached, or neutral around you. You might have felt them pulling back just when things seemed meaningful. This wasn't because they didn't care. It was because caring too much felt overwhelming. The Two of Swords shows someone who felt deeply but believed that hiding it was the only way to stay safe. There is also an element of waiting here. They kept telling themselves, not now. They hoped that clarity would come on its own. They waited for the right sign, the right moment, or the right feeling of certainty. But the truth is, clarity never comes when emotions are avoided. It comes when they are faced honestly. And this person wasn't ready to face them yet. The Two of Swords reveals that their desire for you was locked behind mental walls. They may have appeared indecisive, confusing, or emotionally unavailable. But beneath that surface was a heart that wanted you and a mind that was too afraid to choose vulnerability over safety. This card gently confirms that the lack of action was not a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their internal struggle. They wanted you, but they didn't know how to move forward without risking emotional exposure. So they stayed still, hoping the feelings would quiet down. But feelings like these don't disappear. They wait. The Two of Swords shows that what was hidden was not indifference, but a heart caught between desire and fear. They wanted you more than they ever showed. But they chose silence because making a choice felt heavier than carrying the longing. When the Devil appears in a reading like this, It immediately tells us that the desire involved was not light, casual, or easy to ignore. This card speaks of intense attachment, deep craving, and emotions that felt almost impossible to control. In the context of they want you more than they ever showed you, the devil confirms that what was hidden went far beyond simple attraction. This was obsession, fixation, and a powerful pull that stayed with them even when they tried to deny it. This person didn't just think about you sometimes. You occupied their mind in moments they didn't expect, late at night, during quiet moments. Or when they were alone, thoughts of you surfaced again and again. They may have tried to distract themselves or pretend they didn't care. But the truth is, your energy had a hold on them. The devil shows that they felt drawn to you in a way that felt risky, consuming, and emotionally overwhelming. What makes this card especially important is that it reveals why they didn't show how much they wanted you. The feelings scared them. They felt out of control. Wanting you so deeply made them feel exposed, vulnerable, and powerless in a way they were not used to. So instead of expressing desire, they tried to suppress it. Instead of opening up, they put walls around their heart. But hiding it didn't make it go away. It only made it stronger inside. The devil also speaks of inner conflict. This person may have felt guilty for wanting you, especially if circumstances made the connection complicated or forbidden. They may have told themselves they shouldn't feel this way, that it wasn't the right time, or that wanting you would only lead to pain. Yet no matter how much they tried to reason with themselves, their desire kept pulling them back to you emotionally. There is also a strong physical and emotional chemistry shown here. They were magnetically attracted to you. Your presence stirred something deep and primal within them. Even small interactions may have felt intense. Your voice, your energy, your attention left a lasting impression on them. And because of how strong this attraction was, they chose restraint instead of expression. They feared that if they let themselves get too close, they would lose control completely. The devil can also indicate patterns of self-sabotage. This person may have acted in ways that pushed you away, even though they wanted you badly. They might have been hot and cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. This wasn't because they didn't care. It was because they didn't trust themselves with how much they cared. Wanting you made them confront parts of themselves they weren't ready to face. Another important message from this card is that they felt bound by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being seen, fear of change. They may have stayed stuck in familiar patterns rather than risk opening their heart fully to you. But even while staying silent, they remained emotionally tied to you. The devil shows bonds that exist even when unspoken. This card also reminds you that the connection was powerful for a reason. You triggered deep emotions, unresolved desires, and hidden needs within them. That is not something that fades easily. Even if time has passed or circumstances changed, this pull still lingers in their energy. The devil doesn't show shallow interest. It shows intensity that was buried, controlled, and denied. They wanted you in ways they didn't know how to express safely. Their silence, distance, or restraint was not a lack of desire. It was proof of just how strong that desire truly was. As the Knight of Cups appears in this reading, the first thing you need to understand is that this card carries deep emotion, romantic longing, and feelings that were felt quietly rather than spoken openly. This is the energy of someone who felt everything but showed very little. When it comes to the topic of they want you more than they ever showed you, the Knight of Cups confirms that what was hidden was not small or casual. It was heartfelt, sincere, and emotionally intense. This person didn't just like you. They idealized you. In their heart, you were placed on a pedestal. They saw you as someone special, someone different from anyone they had known before. The Knight of Cups energy reveals that they imagined conversations with you, replayed moments you shared, and thought deeply about what being with you could feel like. Yet instead of acting boldly, they stayed in their inner world, letting their emotions flow silently rather than outwardly. This card shows someone who leads with feelings but struggles with action. They are romantic at heart, but fear rejection, embarrassment, or emotional exposure. So rather than telling you how they felt, they chose to protect themselves. That is why you may have felt mixed signals from them. One moment they seemed caring or emotionally present, and the next they pulled back. It wasn't because their feelings faded. It was because they didn't know how to handle how strong those feelings actually were. The Knight of Cups also speaks of emotional depth that comes in waves. This person's feelings for you didn't stay at the surface. They grew stronger with time. Even when there was distance, silence, or separation, Their emotions didn't disappear. They carried you in their heart quietly. They may have expressed love through subtle actions, glances, or small gestures rather than direct words. And if you ever wondered whether you imagined the connection, this card says you didn't. There is also a softness here. This person wanted to approach you gently. They didn't want to rush or force anything. In their mind, you were something precious, something they didn't want to mishandle. But this gentle nature also became their weakness. Instead of stepping forward, they waited for the perfect moment that never came. The Knight of Cups can sometimes get lost in dreams instead of turning them into reality. When this card shows up, it often means emotions were held back out of fear of being vulnerable. This person may have worried that if they showed you how much they cared, they would lose control or expose a side of themselves they usually keep hidden. They may have worried about not being good enough or about the timing being wrong, so they stayed quiet, even when their heart wanted to speak. This energy also suggests that you awakened something emotional in them. You stirred feelings they were not used to feeling. You made them want love, closeness, an emotional connection in a way that surprised them. And because of that, they didn't always know how to act around you. Their silence was not indifference. It was emotional overwhelm. The Knight of Cups reminds you that what was hidden was love in its early, pure, and sincere form. This was not about games or manipulation. It was about a heart that wanted to come forward but didn't know how. They wanted you more than they ever showed because they were still learning how to be brave with their emotions. As this card speaks to you, it gently asks you to trust what you felt. If you sensed that there was more beneath the surface, you were right. The connection was real. The feelings were real. And even if they were never fully expressed, they were deeply felt and carried with care.